Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Digital Marketing Trends and Prediction 2023 webinar. My name is Samuel. I'll be guiding you guys through this webinar before I pass over to our Chief Analyst, Jeff Rajeck, who will go through with you the 5 trends that he has discovered from our report. So before we start, just a quick introduction on who we are. So ClickInsights is actually the sister company of our Click Academy Asia. So what we do, we actually deliver research, events, and any lead generation related activities. And if you have noticed that before the start of the webinar, we have shared some reports that you guys can download for free on our website. And just to let some of you guys know who are not aware of who we are, Click Academy Asia is actually the our parent company that is focused on doing digital marketing training. So you can read up more about us in the website here, clickinsights.asia/about us. So for the agenda today, we will start the webinar at 11:10, and after the webinar, for the last 10 minutes, Jeff Rajeck will answer any questions that you guys have shared in the Q&A section. So during the webinar, if you have any questions, please share them in the box, and Jeff Rajeck will try to answer them after the webinar. So now let me just pass over to Jeff Rajeck to start the webinar. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ClickInsights Asia webinar. My name is Jeff Rajeck, and I'm the Chief Analyst at ClickInsights Asia. I'm here today to talk about our latest report, Digital Marketing Trends and Predictions 2023, now available for download at clickinsights.asia. To let you know a bit of what's in store for you when you download the report, I have pulled out 5 of the most important trends to cover in great detail. These are ChatGPT set to revolutionize marketing, TikTok, the best new-ish social media channel for marketers, prepare for the sunsetting of third-party data, the growing influence of influencer marketing, and finally, forget millennials, here comes Gen Z. So lots to cover here. Let's get started. First up, ChatGPT set to revolutionize marketing. So the first trend comes from the content marketing section of the report. Trend 3, AI will assume greater significance in content marketing. Well, for those who are not yet up to date on ChatGPT, what exactly is it? Well, first off, ChatGPT is a computer program that can understand and respond to written text in a way that mimics human conversation. It was created by OpenAI, a leading artificial intelligence research lab. And the program has been trained on vast amounts of written text from the internet, books, and other sources. Now, this training means that it can answer questions, generate text, and hold conversations in a manner that appears to be human-like, although it is not a human being there behind the program. Now, how can you think of ChatGPT? Well, think of it like a virtual assistant that can help you find and organize information. Now, how will something like this revolutionize marketing? Well, ChatGPT has the potential to revolutionize marketing by enabling companies to interact with customers in a more personalized and natural way, and also do it without doing a whole load of work. So some ways it can do this include customer service. ChatGPT can be integrated into websites and mobile apps to provide 24/7 customer support, answering frequently asked questions and resolving issues quickly. It can also do content generation. It can generate compelling and engaging marketing copy, product descriptions, social media posts, and that saves time and resources for marketers. Lead generation. ChatGPT can assist with lead generation by having conversations with potential customers to understand their needs and preferences, and then provide relevant product or service information. Personalization. ChatGPT can collect and analyze customer data, such as their search history and purchase history, and then use that data to personalize the marketing experience and improve the customer journey. Chatbots. Similarly, ChatGPT can be used to build chatbots for websites and messaging platforms, providing a more human-like interaction and increasing customer engagement. Now, these are just a few examples of how ChatGPT can be used in marketing to improve customer experience, streamline processes, increase efficiency. But there's other things that I personally have used ChatGPT for already. One is generating slogans. Okay, here we are. I've just typed in 5 slogans for a trucking company, and out they come. Google ad headlines. Oh, something that I'm sure all marketers dread doing, where you just say, I want Google ads for a particular business. Here we go, trucking company again. And here we have a list. We not only get the headline, but a description that you can include as well. And of course, ChatGPT can take into account all of the constraints of Google ads and make sure that you're within the character limits. The headlines are capitalized, the descriptions are done in the proper case. All these things can be included within the ChatGPT, and so you will get a nearly perfect headline, or at least one you can start working on. And then finally, my final example is, how can ChatGPT revolutionize marketing? Well, it can help you with webinars. And so the previous slides from before, including the text, came from ChatGPT itself. And so here you can see some of my script here for the webinar generated by ChatGPT. Anyway, hopefully that gives you some idea what is possible with this new technology. And of course, you really should go and just try it yourself to see how you might be able to use it. Now, if you need a little bit of more assistance, you can go to our blog, because the ClickInsights Asia blog has recently published several posts on this topic. How to generate TikTok video scripts, writing marketing emails, meaningful keyword clusters, all sorts of great things on ChatGPT. And you can see that at www.clickinsights.asia/blog. Okay, next trend. TikTok, the best new-ish social media channel for marketers. And here I'm taking it from the report in the social media marketing trends, number 2, brands will employ new social media channels. Now, look, I know all of our listeners are already familiar with TikTok, but if there are any of you who do not use it at least occasionally, I encourage you to, well, as soon as you're done with this webinar, download it, and without even creating an account, in fact, you can even do it in a web browser, just scroll through it for a minute or 2. Now, when you actually try TikTok, if you haven't already, it's clear that the app has been optimized to provide very fast video content and an addictive swiping interface, which makes it so easy to move from video to video. So if you see something you like, you watch it. If you don't, swipe it away. Additionally, without providing any personal information at all, that is, it's a totally anonymous usage, TikTok seems to read you and figure out what content that you'd like to see. It really is quite an incredible experience and quite different from other social media platforms, which typically require that you like in Facebook, you have to friend people and like things. Twitter, you have to follow certain people. LinkedIn, you have to make connections. And so these all require a lot more user input to come up with interesting content. TikTok seems to do it quite automatically. So how does TikTok, why is it the best new social media channel for marketers? Well, first of all, it has high user engagement. Now, here's a chart that kind of explains a little bit of how TikTok goes about finding what they call the next best video for you. And that's kind of their secret sauce. Makes the platform so addictive. And so how it manages to do it so well is not entirely clear. But recently, the New York Times published internal documents verified by TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, which revealed that the algorithm actually has many goals. Briefly, you can see here that the TikTok algorithm prioritizes increasing each user's DAU on the left, or daily active usage. And secondly, attempts to increase each user's time spent or retention on the platform. Now, it does this, every now we're third from the left, providing a customized collection of videos curated for you in the feed by reviewing what content you spent time viewing previously, as well as providing non-targeted content or other features, such as live streaming and points of interest based on your geographical location. So that's what other features are. Really, it's just kind of throwing things into the mix depending on where you physically are. So from this info, this was verified by TikTok, analysts have been able to assemble a list of signals which TikTok uses to find the next video on your feed. And here we see fourth from the left or second from the right, user interactions, video metadata such as hashtags, and then also the device settings that you have. Okay, so all of these signals are then used to sort of come up with what video is going to be best for you. So not too surprising here, though it is interesting how much TikTok uses user interaction to come up with your next video. That is, it looks at what you've actually been looking at and then decides whether or not, a video is right for you. Now, finding the right videos for you then leads users often returning to the platform, spending lots of time on it. And then it is this which makes it a great opportunity for marketers to get in front of consumers. So what else? What else has TikTok got for us? Well, TikTok also has a very large user base. Now, its addictive and engaging nature wouldn't be much use if there weren't many people on the platform. But as you can see from recent estimates of TikTok's audience side, it is currently number 2 there in the black line behind Facebook and set to rise to over 2 billion global active users by 2025. And this is not just a lot of users, but which is great for marketers, of course, but it's also a young and diverse audience. Okay, so apart from reaching a lot of people, it reaches the users, which marketers tend to want, young and diverse. Here we have a chart from AppApe, which estimates that more than 6 out of 10 TikTok users are under the age of 30. Now, why are they important? Well, these are the people who have not yet forged many brand preferences and are more open to being influenced by media to make purchasing decisions, which will stick with them throughout their lives. Additionally, unlike other digital advertising properties or social networks, TikTok has a global and multilingual reach with a majority of its users outside of the USA and Europe. Now, this will be great for brands who are trying to reach consumers who are not yet oversaturated with advertisements from their competitors. So see here that USA, yes, is the largest single country, but below them we have great emerging economies such as Indonesia, Brazil, Russia, Mexico. All these great places that marketers are trying to reach can use TikTok in order to get through to them. So apart from the size of the platform, how engaging it is, and its diverse reach, the other great thing about TikTok, which I don't think has been considered enough, is that it has exceptional creative opportunities. Now, here we have a bit of a tongue-in-cheek diagram from one of the influencers. And what it does is it compares what it takes to be a creator on YouTube versus a TikTok creator. And I think that even though it's done as a bit of a joke, I think there's a bit of a grain of truth in this. So, for example, TikTok has user-generated content at its core, whereas YouTube has fallen into, kind of you have to have more professional production. TikTok, it's surprisingly easy for people to grab a sound clip, which you do from their library, record some video with it, add graphics, and come up with your own quirky short video. What this means for brands depends upon your profile. Boring corporate videos are quickly swiped out of view and just aren't part of the platform. But if your creative team spends just a bit of time learning how the TikTok creators use the platform, they should be able to create several videos which blend in nicely with the others and deliver the message, a brand message at the same time. Now, in addition to the typical TikTok videos, TikTok also offers several ad types. And here we can see them here. We have sort of the in-feed stuff, right, which looks like what everyone else does. And then we also have these brand takeovers where you can take over the screen entirely, push yourself up to the top, do a hashtag challenge. But also at the end there, we have these branded effects, which are sort of like these kind of lenses that you can use in order to really get across your brand message with being able to change photos and videos. It's really very, very cool. Also, in addition to having great reach and offering great creative opportunities, TikTok also has many of the targeting options you would expect from a relatively mature ad engine. You can hit the demographics. You can build audiences out of people who have interacted with your brand. You can target interests and behaviors like you can do on, Facebook, Instagram. And then you also have a whole host of device options. But now what's also interesting is up in the upper right there, you say they have this auto targeting feature. And what this does is it looks at the people who have interacted with your brand in the past and then tries to find more like them automatically. And some agencies have reported this delivers interactions for 33% less than other broad targeting ad options. So again, I'm sure most people are familiar with TikTok. I'm not going to insult your intelligence here, but for those people who haven't, do have a go on it. Try it out, and if you are at all in charge of a budget, definitely throw some at TikTok and see what sort of results you can get. It's very easy to use, and it hits will probably hit a new audience for you. Trend number 3. Prepare for the sunsetting of third-party data. Now, compared with the previous recommendation of advertising on TikTok and then talking about ChatGPT, this next trend is a little bit more complicated. And it's inspired by their first trend in email. The hyper-segmentation and hyper-personalization of emails will be powered by zero-party data. Oof, that's a mouthful. Okay, so to help you understand this trend and what it means to marketers, let me first explain what is meant by third-party data, if you don't know already, and then how many companies are moving from third to zeroth party data. Okay, so first of all, third-party data. As you can see here, third-party data is data which is collected by external parties, put into a central database, and then sold to brands and marketers via a data exchange. And this helps brands reach an audience with advertising. Now, you probably use third-party data. Even if you don't know, you probably used it without even thinking about it. When you target to people who have various interests or behaviors, you're probably using somebody else's data, right? So you use this third-party data, as you can see here, okay, to help you target people online who are, say, sports fans, or people who are currently shopping for a new car, or maybe even moving house. Now, most brands, of course, couldn't possibly collect the data like this themselves, but it's very useful for finding people who have, shown these behaviors. They have shown themselves as sport fans. They have gone to buy a car online or researched to buy a car online. They have engaged with moving sites. And you then can make the decision that, hey, they might be interested in my product. And then what you do is you go to a data exchange and say, hi, I'd like to have, be able to connect with people who are sports fans, for example, even though you don't collect the data, the third party has, and they sell it to you. And give it to you. So you could go to something like a sports website, car dealership, moving company, and get the data, and then through the ad platforms, reach the people who have revealed their preferences. So as you might imagine, though, many consumers don't want companies other than the one they are dealing with to know what they're doing. So as a result, Google, which owns Chrome and which is the main technology enabler of third-party data collection, has announced they are essentially sunsetting third-party data collection in 2024. Okay, so here we have all of the data parts there, but I think what we have to do is consider that third-party data is going to be on the way out. Now, as you can see, right, the brands are there left with 3 other options for targeting. And let's start over from the right. So first off, we have second-party data. And this is where brands negotiate directly with the data collector. So you would go to the sports site and say, hi, can I have a list of people who visited your site? Or to the moving site and say, how many people are currently, searching for how to move house? And then you'd use their data to target the advertising. Yeah, but you know what? These sort of relationships are difficult to both establish and maintain. And so it's not a very popular option. And that brings us next to first-party data. And this is data which is collected from consumers during the buying cycle. Okay, so this is data you collect from your consumers as they go through their buyer's journey with you. And with the right website setup, brands can gather some of the data they use to purchase from third parties, such as geographic location. You can see whether they're mobile or desktop. We can even find, depending on, what products they look at, you can determine things like gender and age range. And then, of course, you can always look at their viewing and browsing history on your website in order to come up with, what type of person they are. So if they're looking at products about cycling, for example, you can assume that they're a cycling enthusiast. It kind of makes sense, right? You sort of look at what they do on your website and you can sort of, ascertain who they are. However, as you might anticipate, collecting data from customers based on clues from how they use your website does not actually produce a lot of data. It's pretty hard to get a lot of data. And the inferences made from their behavior might not accurately reflect the consumer. So for example, non-sports fans may just be surfing a football website to find a gift. An apparent car buyer might just be planning for the faraway future, or someone on a moving site might just be trying to arrange delivery of a piece of furniture. Okay, so you're not entirely sure what it is you're getting, depending on who you are. So you might not be getting the data that you want. So here is where zero-party data comes in. So what is zero-party data? Let's have a look here. Okay, zero-party data is data that is provided to brands by customers. Okay, Forrester Research defines zero-party data as that which a customer intentionally and proactively shares with the brand. So it's different from first-party data. First-party data involves you looking at clues of all the things that people visiting your website do, and then trying to determine who they are from their behavior. First-party data, zero-party data, however, is stuff that is directly told to you by the customer. Now, how are you going to get customers to provide you this zero-party data? Well, here are some examples of how other brands have gotten it. First off, we have the preference center. This is where a customer who's using your website or app changes some sort of parameters to sort of see what they prefer. Maybe this cyclist, puts it as preference center, show me cycling products first when I come on the website or app. Purchase intentions. This could be from a wish list or perhaps even an abandoned cart. Personal details. This is something you can get from an e-survey or perhaps a detailed order entry screen. I mean, when people are in the midst of purchase, it's a perfect time to ask them questions about what it is, why are they buying, what are their motivations? And so that would be zero-party data that customers give up willingly to the brand. And then, of course, you could have user-initiated details. So say they have a customer service call or somehow otherwise contact you. It would be a good time to throw in a survey as well, because they are currently trying to, interact with you. So get some data on them. And as long as, the brand makes a compelling reason for consumers to hand over the data, marketers will then have a wealth of data for which they can use for targeting and social media platforms, as well as trend analysis, hyper-segmenting, and hyper-personalizing email using zero-party data. And what I throw these words out, hyper-segmenting and hyper-personalizing, and to really determine what those mean. Well, the thing is, it's sort of a new term that sort of says, right, you're not just segmenting based on, say third-party data or something you're inferring by the company, but it's like you can use all sorts of data points that you are getting directly from the customer. So you can, ask them gender, age, location, language. You can ask them what their interests are, what they're trying to purchase. You can ask all these things, and then you can combine it with information about their devices, or some of the behaviors you might have seen. And then in that way, you're sort of getting a 2 or 3 dimensional look at your customers, and you're able to target them even better. Then in addition, you can use data analysis tools to do things such as audience expansion. That is, here is, the typical customer we're trying to reach. What other customers on our database look like them? Or you can use automatic targeting, like we talked about with TikTok, where you make a small audience on one of the social media ad platforms, and then you say, "Get me more people like that." So it's not just segmenting and targeting, but you're using the data that you generate, and then you're using analytical tools in order to expand your audience. So anyway, while third-party data will still be around for a bit, it seems that Google keeps pushing the date back of when they're going to sunset it. It is coming. It is coming. We are not going to be able to buy at least high-quality third-party data soon, and so marketers should be looking at other options. And this zero-party data can offer a lot of what we have enjoyed in the past. All right, my next trend here, we have the growing influence of influencer marketing. And this trend refers to a section that we have in the report called influencer marketing. And it's trend number 4, brands will prioritize partnerships with influencers. Okay, so while global marketing spending on influencers, look at this chart here. While global marketing spending on influencers has remained a small fraction of marketing spend, there on the left, we can see. Polaris Market Research, their analysis estimates that it will top $15 billion in 2023, and it's targeted with a compounded annual growth rate to reach $100 billion in 2030. Now, it's tough to say exactly how much $100 billion of marketing will be in 2030, but the estimate is it'll be approximately 10% of global marketing spend. Okay, so it's gone from being a very small part of marketing to being around 10% by 2030. And now what this rate of growth indicates is that brands will be spending more time and money on influencers over the coming years. And any marketers who do not currently have an influencer program should start researching how to enter the market now. Well, why is this? Why do we have this growing influence of influencer marketing? Well, from what I could find, there are several reasons for the rise of influencers. Now, the first is reach, okay? So now while brands are able to advertise on digital platforms, an increased lack of engagement from consumers often leads to the deprioritizing of brand content on social media. Now, why do I put up this? The click-through rate for Facebook and Instagram ads looks really boring, right? It's going nowhere. Pretty much click-through rate is staying around 1%, okay? This is reported by AdStage, and it just shows that from May 20 to, it was just seeing a year here, but you're seeing basically a trend of things going nowhere. However, when you look at what it's costing for that 1% click-through rate, we see a steady rise of costs, especially in the Northern American markets in green and the Western Europe markets there in blue. And so while the clicks have been holding steady, the cost per click has been trending upwards. So using influencers allows brands to have another way to reach the consumers and get in front of those which might be called ad-averse, meaning they are rapidly scrolling past ads and avoiding clicking on them. Also, influencers provide brands with a unique entry point to their target markets. The influencers have spent time building trust with their audience and offer the social proof, which is hard to achieve with advertising. For example, it's notoriously difficult to get consumers to notice a new line of cosmetics, but throw an event, invite someone like, say, Kylie Jenner, and suddenly you have millions of views and thousands of likes, which leads to greater brand awareness and interest, right? So we're not just getting people aware of the brand, but we're associating our brand with whatever it is that Kylie Jenner stands for and what her fans like. And so, so here we have Kylie Jenner doing a consumer brand, drawing attention to it, but actually influencer marketing is not only for consumer brands. It's kind of got the name of just being for consumer brands. All industries have influencers. Think of office designers or logistics experts who, if you can reach them, are often open to promoting products and services which are relevant to their markets. One interesting example of a creative B2B influencer marketing campaign was Microsoft. They ran a post series with National Geographic to highlight the work that women scientists do around the world. Now, while this is not directly related to selling operating systems and office software, this campaign was a great boost to the Microsoft brand on social media, and it aligned them with the values of their customer base. So while this doesn't exactly look like an ad for Microsoft, they use these women scientist influencers to sort of get the brand Microsoft in front of people and to give a good brand association. Obviously, they don't need much on awareness. Kind of everyone who knows who Microsoft is, but they do need occasionally to get new associations with the brand, and an influencer is a great way to do it. Also, finally, influencer marketing can help you reach people outside of your typical target demographic. Okay. Now, ad targeting may get you in front of a new audience, but it may not do a lot to generate interest in your brand. One example of how a brand has done this is Special K worked with beauty influencer Bree Hall. Now, not my particular target influencer market, but still very popular beauty and fashion influencer Bree Hall. And they employed her to reach an audience which engages with her account for beauty tips. While cereal and cosmetics may not be a typical association in the mind of the consumer, Special K was certainly able to reach a new audience with their campaign. And it's almost certain that anyone who buys cosmetics will buy breakfast food as well. So I guess my main point here, why this is an interesting trend, is that if you haven't thought about how to get influencers, realize that it's going to become its own domain in marketing. It wasn't a fad. It's not a trend only. It's a trend that it's going upwards, but it is something that will be part of marketing for some time. So do review your influencer strategy and get in there and find people who can help with brand associations and help you reach new audiences. Okay, finally, I want to return to content marketing, and this is our trend 5. Gen Z will impact branding strategies, and I've renamed it as Forget Millennials. Here comes Gen Z. I mean, how much have we heard about millennials over the years? Well, now we can finally, they are no longer the new thing. Now we have Gen Z. Okay, who are Gen Z? What are Gen Z all about? Well, let's have a little look at where Gen Z are at the moment. Now, Gen Z are defined as people born between 1995, and 2010. So they are different from previous generations in that they have no memory of a time before the world was essentially digitized. And they've grown up with Google search, YouTube, social media platforms, mobile devices as their main source of information. Now, I'll talk a bit about what this means for marketers. But first, I'd like to draw attention to this chart. I found this quite interesting from NGA, showing the global population in 2020 at the top, okay? And 2025 in the middle, and 2030 at the bottom. Now, the dark-ish or the medium dark magenta bars on the left show the size of Gen Z as a percentage of the global population aged 20 to 65, or the main ages that marketers aim to reach, when they're trying to sell, okay? So in 2020, the top bar, Gen Z was fewer than 10% of desirable consumers, 7.9% only. Now, if we go down to the second row there, 2025, we see that they're nearly a quarter of the desirable marketing market. And by 2030, they are pretty much tied with millennials. We see that, in the bottom row, we see that Gen Z are around 35%, millennials are 37%. And so, rapidly, they are going to become, one of the main consumers your brand is trying to reach. And of course, again, back to this whole idea of with TikTok is, when they're younger consumers, you are more likely to have an impact on them. They're less fixed in their ways. They've less picked out which brands they buy for each category. So they really are a desirable market. And we can see that, as they grow increasingly, they're going to be increasingly important to marketers. So then all that energy marketers have spent recently on how to reach millennials now needs to be redirected towards reaching Gen Z. So what do marketers need to do to prepare for the arrival of the Gen Z consumers? First off, we need to come back to two topics we've already discussed, TikTok and influencers. When asked about what is most likely to get them to buy a product, Gen Z consumers noted that TikTok videos are more likely to drive a purchase than any advertising. Additionally, Instagram influencer posts at 22% outperformed all ads besides TV. So the first thing marketers need to do to reach Gen Z is to ensure their brand messaging is delivered in a trusted format, TikTok and via social media influencers. Here's one recent campaign from Mercedes-Benz, which challenged TikTok users to recreate the brand's iconic logo in new and interesting ways for the platform. Of course, most Gen Z consumers are not yet ready for their first Mercedes purchase, though it's been said that brand recognition cannot start too early. Tomorrow's 40-year-olds are 15 now. Second, marketers need to associate their brand with authentic, experience-oriented content. That is, instead of saying what your brand is all about, show it. A recent survey by EY of Gen Z consumers found that they value trust, transparency, and authenticity. Now, an example of this is fashion advertising. Gen Z will eschew the traditional Vogue adverts, with nearly 2 in 3 consumers aged 18 to 24 saying that fashion advertising should show real people in real surroundings. One brand which follows this is ASOS, whose TikTok account is full of videos of real people in their actual surroundings, which makes the brand, well, it shows the brand as authentic and down to earth. And they have amusing videos, such as dressing my dad like me, or getting my mom dressed. And it sounds simple to do this, right? Here we just see some very simple handheld video from smartphones of people wearing clothes in authentic surroundings. So it looks very simple, but brands which can get content like this through all the people involved in the marketing process will look different, fresh, and appealing to the Gen Z market. Now, finally, marketers to reach the Gen Z should try to get out of this sort of typical brand advertising and have a bit of fun. High gloss, well-produced branded content just doesn't work with the media Gen Z consumes, which is the experiential TikTok and influencers. The competition is just too great for brands to be noticed among all the others. So marketers need to stop hand-wringing and protecting their brands. And they need to find new ways to be noticed by Gen Z consumers. Now, one great way to do this is brand mashups. And here we see a small example there with TikTok and Coca-Cola coming together to create Coca-Cola flavored TikToks. TikToks. They're a great way to do this because it sort of gives the brand sort of new life and in a sort of fun and invigorating way. Another example of this is Dunkin' Donuts with their Elf Cosmetics, where they were creating more or less donut branded cosmetics or cosmetic branded donuts. I'm not sure which there, but certainly crossing over the two brands. And this is a fun way for both brands to remain relevant to a new generation to consumers. And last year, Old Spice, traditionally an older man's cologne, made a push for Gen Z by teaming up with American fast food company Arby's to promote its deodorant as protection against meat sweats. Now, of course, most brands are not going to be able to be this aggressive with their mashups, but you can see how far this can go. Now, probably the king of brand mashups is our old favorite Crocs, which has mixed its brand assets with a sort of a limited edition production with a wide variety of different brands. Here we see 7-Eleven up there on the left. To the right, KFC branded Crocs. Maybe making a bit more sense down there at the bottom is Balenciaga with sort of a high-heeled Crocs. And perhaps the best there on the bottom right, we have the Crocs and Hidden Valley Ranch dressing mashup. So clearly marketers at Crocs are thinking way out of the box and having lots of fun in the process. So I just wanted to recap because it's quite a bit about Gen Z. How do we reach them? Well, first of all, we use the platforms they use: TikTok, Instagram, influencers. We build trust through authenticity, show real people in real situations, and then finally take risks and have a bit of fun. Anyway, I'd just like to thank you all for joining me today on the overview of the top 5 trends from the ClickInsights Asia Digital Marketing Trends and Predictions of 2023. But before you go, I'd like to let you know that our sister company, Click Academy Asia, has several courses coming up in Singapore, which will help marketers navigate all the changes happening in marketing, including brand new content on Google Analytics, Google Ads, social media, content marketing, and finally, marketing analytics. Now, to read more on the topics today and to get the report that this is all about, please visit our site. Okay, here you can get your complimentary access to our reports at clickinsights.asia/free reports. And then, of course, check out daily content for marketers at ClickInsights Asia/blog.
Okay. Sam, you hear me here? Yes. Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Okay, so now I've had a few questions come through direct messaging, so I'd like to share some of the answers for that. Let me just start my video just so you know. Oops, hold on, I can't do it yet. Okay. Sam, let me know if I can ever start my video. I'm all ready to go here. Anyway, so question I had. I've used ChatGPT. And its output is not local. It has no spice at all. Can it be adjusted to do this? Okay, so strictly speaking, ChatGPT can be trained on whatever text is available to it. Okay, so for example, you can have it write its headlines in Singlish. You can just say, hey, ChatGPT, give me some, I don't know, trucking company headlines in Singlish, and voila, you will get it in Singlish. And you can do it with all sorts of different localized languages. However, the thing to know about ChatGPT is that it can only repeat what it has seen before. Okay, so it does not generate language based on, it cannot generate language out of nothing. It has to have seen it before. And so you may still be lacking that sort of spice you're looking for. So I think, and I think I mentioned this earlier, is that, you really should be looking at ChatGPT as more like modeling clay for a sculptor. It sort of gets it out there, gets the language out there, gives you some ideas, your constraints. Like for the webinar, for example, I did that first section of the webinar. I was able to sort of, get the bullet points, made sure I didn't miss anything essential, whatever. But then, I sort of read through it, sounded a bit wooden. I had to add some things to it to make it a bit more interesting. And so I think the great thing for marketers is it's for the first time, like ever, we have, sort of an assistant to help us without actually having to like hire anybody. And so, we should definitely use it for that, because it gives you this material to work with, and then you can use your own skills and cultural insights to improve on it. Okay, I have another question here. North America and EU markets are heading in the direction of Trade Desk for future of third-party data and getting into data clean rooms for second-party data mashups. How soon is APAC going to head in this way? Okay, so now I can only sort of talk about from my experience is that, I think most brand marketers we're relying heavily on agencies in order to do the third-party data and what you call these two-party data, second-party data mashups. And so, I think, one place obviously marketers will go for this soon is to go back to their, to their agencies who may have a relationship with Trade Desk, or maybe they have a relationship with Trade Desk directly if they're big enough. But, I think there's also a level of creativity that's going to have to happen here where marketers are going to have to really take a look at their buyer's journey and go, okay, we're how can I start gathering our own data on this? Can we get it through this first party data concept where I can sort of track and follow and see what people do? Even to the point, I know one brand is actually watching consumers, operate in the stores. They're hiring marketing agencies who, have mystery shoppers who go and see what do these people do when they come into our stores? What behaviors do they have? How can we interpret that? And then, also with the zeroth party data, I think it's going to be, obviously maybe working with an agency, but I think it's still going to be brand marketers who are going to have to think, what questions can we directly ask our consumers that will lead to answers that help us with our marketing? And so, the future of third-party data and the second-party data mashups, I think it's probably still going to rest with agencies because that's what Asian marketers have relied on in the past. But I also think there's a lot of opportunities for people who are in the brand to participate in this new sort of revolution. Now that we can't rely on third-party data for the targeting, we're going to have to be a bit more creative about ways that we can get first-party and then explore how we might, launch these zeroth party data initiatives. Okay, still got some time here. Okay. Hi, I'm in brand development. How can TikTok, for bathrooms and fixtures, fittings, bathrooms, fixtures, and fittings. Okay, so this is something that in the sort of the remodeling industry, I guess. How can TikTok work for us, drive new business, etc.? Okay, so I think I said earlier, and certainly I'll reiterate, TikTok is very top of funnel for most brands. That is, it will generate awareness that your brand exists in the category. And by its very nature, it's going to be very difficult to target accurately. Okay, so you can put in targeting parameters in TikTok, as I mentioned, but I think for most part, no matter what sort of company you are, you really should at least start with a very broad audience, because you're not going to get click data. You're not going to be able to get, we targeted the micro-targeted, females aged 25 to 27, and we got lots of clicks. You're not going to be able to do that. You really are, in some ways, spraying and praying. You are trying to get your message out there to as many people. And you may think that you want to reach people who would be interested in your brand. And so if you are bathrooms, fixtures, and fittings, you're going to want people who are, I don't know, designers or in the building trade. But actually, I think the magic of TikTok would be to reach the people who are driving demand in other ways. So actually, the people who are doing, the house renovations, or people who are moving house, as I mentioned in the zeroth party data bit, they may be the people who drive your demand. Right. So they may be the people who go, oh, I just saw this cool, I don't know, faucet or something. And it has a laser control or something. I don't know, whatever. I don't know anything about the market so much, but they might, be the ones who see the cool thing on TikTok, associate your brand with that cool thing. And then they drive demand by telling their designer or builder or whoever it is that actually ends up purchasing it. And so if you can use TikTok to get them to remember your brand name and one interesting thing about your product, I think TikTok can work for you in a way which is not easy to predict. You're not going to get click data out of it, but you can definitely still drive demand. And of course, this applies to almost any other business. And I think, something I always say is don't underestimate the power of simple brand awareness and a single association. Okay, and don't worry just about clicks. Think about how can you get more people to know who you are, what category you're in, and one thing about you, and you can have amazing results from that. Another question about the third-party data. Okay, so if targeting and this click data, meaning, I think you mean third-party data, third-party targeting, third-party click data, is less accurate, does this mean that analytics will be less useful? And I think this is a very good question, and something, because I do analytics courses, and this is something I want to address head on in the training that I do. Okay, so now just to reiterate what's happening here, Google is going to basically stop allowing these third-party data exchanges from collecting data from people across, what they do across the internet. So like, for example, now you can target people who are currently shopping for a car, or people who are interested in wellness or something like this, right? You have these broad categories. And before, cookies used to be valid, that used to identify these behaviors would be valid for up to 18 months. And so you really could target people, across a wide span of time who had exhibited these behaviors. And so arguably, we don't know for sure, but arguably they were pretty accurate. Now we're not going to be able to do that. They're going to cut down the timing of these cookies. They've said 30 days. I've also seen 90 days as well. But regardless, it's going to be less accurate. It's going to be less accurate. And so does that mean that we're not going to know who's coming to our site? And so there's no point in doing analytics on them. Okay, so the fact that it's getting more difficult actually leads me to believe yes, that it will be more difficult to do analytics, but it might mean that you actually need to do it more. Okay, so what I mean by this is that as brands will, in the near future, they will be less confident about the profile of its website visitors, of the people who download its apps, of the people who register. The audience data won't be as clear. You will need to dig a bit deeper to get to know your customers. Now, I mentioned this already. You can use the first party data in order to track the behaviors that they do on your properties. What pages are they clicking on? What search terms are they using on your website? What activities are they doing on your app? What do they buy? What do they buy online? And then that data can be analyzed to help you focus your brand message to the people who, when you start to get more information about what people actually do on your site, you can then use brand messaging to get more of those people to your site. Now, the other thing, again, going back to this zeroth party data thing, is through surveys, through customer service, through all these other ways that you may be interacting with your customers, is to try and collect more zero party data, more of your customers' preferences. And that data, while it is definitely valuable, will be even more messy. And again, of course, messy data means more analytics that will be good for your company and help you hone your brand messages. So in the question, will analytics become less relevant with less third-party data? No, I think it'll become more relevant because it's going to be harder to get the same information out of the same about your customers that will help you improve your brand messaging. Okay, I have one more question and I've got time for one more. Okay, local tech brand in Singapore, some operations in Malaysia. Okay, so we're kind of mostly in Singapore, but something in Malaysia. Tech brand, how do we get started with influencers? Okay, so I've been talking of influencers for many years now. I can remember even 7 or 8 years ago, still starting to mention them. And and the questions have not changed. This is a common concern always since the very beginning. And I think what it is that most marketers in this region, if they work for global brands or say consumer-oriented brands, I think finding influencers now is relatively easy. They just look for somebody with a large audience or a personality that fits your existing brands. You go on social media, hang up for a while, you're going to see who the people are that you want your brand associated with. Relatively easy. Now, for more local brands, smaller companies, B2B companies, companies that it's not so obvious for influencers, it is definitely more difficult. I mean, you have to kind of ask yourself, what is a tech influencer, right? Or back to our friend there in the fixtures and fittings market, right? For bathrooms, what is an influencer there? How does this even make sense in these different industries? Well, so it takes a bit more research to find these people. And, because again, you want somebody who's both a brand fit and they reach enough people to make a difference. Now, the way that I've dealt with this with a couple companies, so I've worked with, like, for example, a B2B software company, we found that there were influencers on the site called G2. And it was a site where, people were reviewing their products, and they could see sort of who these people were who seemed to chime in almost just about every different review, and they saw these people are trying to build an audience for themselves. Those are people you can reach out to. For fixtures and fittings, it'll be the same thing. Interior design blogs, you'll see people who will comment across many different things. When I look at, say, for example, musical instruments, something I'm particularly interested in buying, I know that there's certain people who are very good at doing YouTube videos and reviewing musical instruments, not just on a for hire basis, but they'll have some sort of a long video which will show comparative analysis across different instruments. And so these, finding these people, not difficult, but it does take some work. Does take some work to do this. They're not as obvious. And I think if you don't have the bandwidth, there are influencer agencies out there who can work for you. But regardless, I do want to say this again, is that, there is no clear path for success. It takes trial and error. You got to get out there. You got to dive right in, put a small budget aside, meet these people, see if you can get some messaging through them, and then, work from there. Okay, I think we are at the time. Sam, do you have something that you'd like to add as a sign off? Thanks.
Yep. And thanks, Jeff. So I hope everyone has enjoyed the webinar session. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to just email us. Our email is teamsg@clickacademyasia.com, and we will also email a copy of the webinar recording to you guys after today. So thank you guys again for taking time out to attend this webinar, and we hope to see you again at the next webinar. Thank you.
Yeah, have a great day, everyone.